And welcome to another edition of XFeed. Looks like everything's going perfectly. If you guys happen to have notifications on and you saw it earlier and you were like, what the hell? All the stuff was deleted. Shout out Mr. Yo Jeremy for letting me know things were absolutely chalked. And well, we are trying to rock and roll again. One of the websites I was checking out some stories on for some reason just like completely frisked my computer, guys. Come on, it's 2024 and we have websites that are absolutely chalked. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I listen, times that by a couple. We have at least like 40 different stories to go over. Some about different countries, some about some interesting happenings within the US. People coming to tell regulators, hey, here are some speeches on DeFi and why you guys should be paying attention to it or how we view it. We'll play one of those talks. It was like a 2-hour session. I got through about 45 minutes of it and I was like, okay, I get the gist, but we'll play a piece of that for you here. And of course, if you enjoy this, well, would love for you guys to drop a like, comment, all that other stuff. Okay, so first off, this is Web3 gaming beyond just tokens. So this is like a story that you're like, okay, you read the headline and you're like, okay, are they going to actually say anything interesting? And what they go to, you might say, okay, this is great. I'm a little bit indifferent on it. So roundtable anchor Rob Nelson and Aiden Zuckerman, co-founder and co-CEO of Upland, recently discussed key aspects of this evolving sector. Nelson asked Zuckerman for his thoughts on where investors might find value in the Web3 space, Zuckerman shared his perspective saying, I would try to find a game or game concept that I gravitate to, one that is early stage enough where I can be involved, not just acquiring tokens or NFTs, but actually being part of the community. And I mean, we've been in a couple different communities. Things are good when they're good and when they're bad. Well, you know, it's an interesting story. And also for the sake of like a lot of these Web3 games, communities, whatever, well, what if the collection stops happening? I mean, like it sounds kind of good, but I mean, when we're saying investors find value, right? Like I feel like it's a very weird way of wording it. And they say, yeah, go find out the community. I mean, like, well, because what else are you going to do? You find value in the game or you like a concept. It's just funny, the verbiage that we generally use within Web3. Okay, for the second year in a row, India leads global crypto adoption. Very interesting to see that on the timeline. Again, the adoption generally around the world seems to be happening, even though, you know, within our different bubbles, within our different communities, we think, you know, not that many people are coming, but more and more are getting on chain. And that is really cool to see. Now, there was an article because I was looking up and I remember before that there was a couple of exchanges that were banned in India, and it was a really, really big deal. And we've obviously had a whole bunch of regulatory things, et cetera. And so I found this Forbes article that was going over different like cryptocurrencies, countries, and their bills. And so we'll talk about Canada and then India here in a second. So for Canada, they say Canada is a cryptocurrency friendly. The Canada Revenue Agency, CRA, views cryptocurrencies as income tax items. Any income or capital gain from a cryptocurrency transaction must be reported. The country has been more motivated than others regarding crypto regulations. Nice. It became the first country to accept a Bitcoin traded fund ETF. And I remember when everybody was all like, oh my God, the US has all these ETFs and whatnot. And I was like, I'm pretty sure in Canada we've had it for a while, but I guess it doesn't matter because we're in Canada, I guess. With some now trading on the Toronto Stock Exchange. Canadians consider crypto exchanges to be money service businesses under the purview of the Proceeds of Crime and Terrorist Financing Act. Interesting. As a result, the exchanges needed to be registered under the Financial Transactions and Reports Analysis Center of Canada, FinTrack. People can report certain records, abide by compliance plans, or report suspicious transactions. Now, what's also kind of interesting is Binance was banned like forever ago. And I remember at the time there was all these questions and it was, okay, does Binance not want to follow certain Canadian regulations? Is it they're not wanting to pay certain aspects to get into some of these circles to be able to play it? Like, what exactly do they not think the market's big enough? I don't know. So a list of countries where cryptocurrency is banned, if you didn't know: China, Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Bolivia, and Tanzania. And then, so back to the India comment a second ago, where again, it's getting massive adoption. Is cryptocurrency in India legal or not? Cryptocurrencies are not regulated by any central authority in India as a payment medium. There are no rules, regulations, or guidelines for setting disputes while dealing with cryptocurrency. So trading in cryptocurrency is done at investor risks. Now, we're not going over the rest of it, but kind of interesting. I didn't realize that there was 5 different countries where it is outright banned. And so I guess that puts a little bit more cadence when people are talking about, well, what if China unbans crypto? Now, the opening article we started off about how, where investors are going to find value when they said the community, KEKW. This was another one that the headline just is, what? 86% of Web3 professionals are attached to crypto. Let me read that again. 86% of Web3 professionals are attached to crypto. Well, what the hell is that other 10-ish percent that's not attached to crypto? What the hell does that even mean? The Web3 industry shows remarkable optimism, with over 86% of professionals expressing confidence in the future of crypto. Duh. According to a recent report by Consensus, this positive outlook persists despite the current regulatory uncertainty, especially as the 2024 U.S. elections approach, which we'll get to some massive news coming out a little bit earlier today that you might have seen on the timeline for one of the U.S. candidates. So scrolling through here, the study highlights an interesting paradox. While 67% of professionals receive their compensation solely in fiat currency, a majority aspire to be more crypto payments. And if you remember, I want to say like 2-3-ish years ago, there was a bunch of NFL players and people that were like, oh, pay me in Bitcoin. Notice how that like completely stopped after that big run and crypto kind of, been flatlining a little bit. Obviously, it's taken off now, but remember all those headlines before? And this was obviously before FTX, but it's wild to think for a moment of like the PR damage that the whole FTX debacle had. However, do remember that we are supposed to get a whole bunch of liquidity for everybody from that FTX because all the funds are like recovered. And it sounds like that's coming very shortly. Indeed, 51% of respondents would prefer a mix of traditional and cryptocurrency, compared to only 30% satisfied with payments exclusively in fiat currency. So there's some interesting perspectives on that one. Breaking: ENS domains. If you got a .eth name, well, it's now integrated on Venmo and PayPal, happening more and more. The adoption, you'll see a lot of people that are ETH maxes on the timeline saying it's hard money, saying this is the future, all these other things. Obviously, we have a lot of different blockchains and a lot of different things, but Ethereum has been around for a while, tried, true, and tested, and we're seeing some big players out there kind of throwing their hat in the ring. So this was the top blur farmer. For anyone that's watching and you're not really familiar with things, always feel free to let me know in the chat and I can try to like explain something that you might not be familiar with. But basically, Blur is one of the NFT marketplaces out there. You might be familiar with OpenSea. It's kind of the same concept, but at a point, if you were using their platform and putting in bids, let's say you had like $100 and you wanted to buy this NFT, you can put in a bid for $100, even if the cost, if you were going to buy it outright, was like $200, and you might have somebody say, I'm going to accept that offer. And the way that it kind of worked was also, for doing that, Blur had this point system that for their token launch, that was their way of distributing the token. And so this was one of, or is the top Blur farmer out there. He was recanting a story of farming punks. And again, punks are very expensive, and they put a lot into this. So this is just a crazy story. The night we bought $6.5 million worth of punks farming Blur. See, the problem is you can farm those points, but if a whole bunch of people decided they're going to dump on you, or one big whale, oh, watch out. It's April 2nd, 2023. We are farming Blur with our bot. Everything is quite fine. We are able to dodge most pumps and dumps. During Season 2, we are quite degen and are farming with walls of up to 8,000 ETH. Imagine just having one ETH. Guy got 8,000. That's crazy. I'm waking up and figure out we got hit overnight with 65 plus punks at 55 ETH. All farmers are scared as F and order book is quite thin. I'm like, holy shit, how are we going to exit from this trash? I'm talking with my bro about the best strat. I'm having breakfast in front of my laptop when I realize we have 6.5 million of punks. I actually want to throw up. Keep in mind, I hate NFTs. Again, this guy was trying to farm the token because, as we've seen a lot of times, these new tokens, if you can get in early, it's pretty profitable. I reach out to Punks OTC, which we've highlighted Punks OTC a lot, and it's just somebody who trades Punks. OTC means like over the counter, so it's not, you don't have like marketplace fees and whatnot for that. And so this was kind of like a big person who does that. So I reach out to Punks OTC trying to find a deal. We don't find any agreement. We try to be patient, and we actually manage to find some decent exit liquidity for our whole stack. We sell everything the same day and take a $300,000 loss. A few days later, the floor is down only. Anyway, expensive night, I guess. So I mean, we haven't had too many massive cascades on Blur. Obviously, the seasons have kind of dwindled down. Focus went on Blast and whatnot, but it is like that is a hilarious story and wild to see. Okay, so there was this hearing entitled "Decoding DeFi: Breaking Down the Future of Decentralized Finance." Now, I can imagine a vast majority of you guys are probably like, "Yeah, you know, I don't really watch some of these, you know, government hearings and all this kind of stuff," but it is very interesting who they select and what these people have to say when they're trying to help these individuals create regulations, give perspectives. And I thought this one from Rebecca Redding is pretty good. This is about like a 4-ish minute speech, but again, sit back, relax, grab some popcorn, and enjoy the perspective of decoding DeFi for the United States government.
Good morning, Chairman Hill.
I think I have this muted. Hold on a second. No, it's not muted. Why is this not playing?
Thank you for the opportunity to testify.
Why is that not playing? Does anybody know why that is not playing?
Representing software
all right, we're not going to go down that. Oh, wait, you guys can hear it.
DeFi applications. I brought to this work years of experience at a large New York law firm where I represented Fortune 500 companies and traditional financial services firms in securities and other regulatory matters, and where I experienced the intersection of law and technology firsthand in one of the early peer-to-peer file sharing cases. Currently, I'm the Chief Legal and Policy Officer of Polygon Labs, an international software development company building blockchain technology. Today, I'll discuss how the unique mechanics of DeFi have informed the global regulatory response to this technology, and briefly touch on a policy proposal to treat DeFi as critical infrastructure to maximize user and market protection.
Listen to the exact word she uses.
Finance refers to a software system that allows users to engage independently in financial transactions. It's part of the larger Web3 movement that returns the internet to individuals, a response to consumer demand for peer-to-peer transparent networks, for increased competition, and for control over one's own data. This means no big tech company and no big finance firm sits in the middle of any DeFi transaction. The hallmark of DeFi is that users retain custody and control over their assets and their data at all times. DeFi protocols are a set of automated code-based rules that allow for financial transactions when users provide the instructions. These are similar to the software protocols like TCP/IP that underlie our internet today. Code for DeFi protocols is open, can be reviewed in real time, and audited by anyone. There's no proprietary black box, as in the traditional financial world. This increases predictability for users, and these open systems increase competition to build better user experiences. DeFi protocols are built on public infrastructure, namely blockchain networks. DeFi transactions are cryptographically settled on these networks via automated consensus of thousands of computers, which creates a transparent record of transaction data. Like the internet itself, this infrastructure can be accessed and utilized by anyone with an internet connection. The term infrastructure usually evokes the idea of roads and bridges. Today, it's also the technological systems that underpin many industries, from aviation to farming to financial services. In the United States, that infrastructure is overseen by CISA, the Cybersecurity and Information Security Agency, as critical infrastructure in collaboration with various other agencies, including the Treasury Department and law enforcement. DeFi can likewise fall under their purview. Today, DeFi allows users to exchange one crypto asset for another, provide crypto asset liquidity for borrowing, or engage in novel trading strategies. Yet DeFi remains nascent. The first DeFi protocol is approximately 7 years old, and today DeFi holds around $78.9 billion of crypto asset value.
Sheesh.
This is only 3.9% of total crypto value and 0.07% of global GDP. Because DeFi systems are neutral technology, regulators have recognized that we can't perfectly map traditional financial laws onto intermediary-less systems. The IMF and the Financial Stability Board recognize that, quote, in the case of DeFi, the lack of intermediaries means that the traditional approach to regulation cannot be applied. The UK's HM Treasury agreed, stating that regulation of DeFi, if any, would occur after any centralized crypto regulation. The same is true for EU, Japanese, Singaporean, and UAE regulators, all of whom have implemented centralized crypto regulation, but not DeFi regulation to date. In fact, the EU's markets and crypto asset regulation specifically exempts services performed in a fully decentralized manner without intermediaries and requires a study of DeFi. Other regulators around the globe have devoted time and resources to analyzing novel DeFi use cases, including the Bank of International Settlements, various central banks, and the Singapore Monetary Authority, who have all experimented themselves with DeFi technology. DeFi addresses many of the core policy considerations of traditional financial services in a different way. Through automation,
okay, so listen, it's good for the first 3 minutes. So you keep going, you're like, okay. But it's interesting because when you hear this talk, right, it feels like, okay, they're talking as if like the US has no idea about these things, and it's in like a very layman's term, and it's awesome, but it also feels at the same time like, okay, like if we're having these kind of conversations that way, I feel like they're kind of behind the 8 ball, you know what I mean? Like you guys need to like hurry up and do something here. But there's a lot of different conversations for it. Again, if you look up on YouTube, GOP Financial Services, it's called Hearing Entitled Decoding DeFi, Breaking Down the Future of Decentralized Finance. There's it's 2 hours and 19 minutes. There's a whole bunch of people that give similar speeches to that, but I thought that that was kind of good to share. To be honest, I found it interesting when I watched it. Okay, G Money saying there is no future where people are knowingly hopping between chains and bridges. Teams that focus on this will be winners in the long run. Totally agree. And we'll kind of see the whole interoperability aspect again. Feels like a buzzword when that gets cranking. Hell yeah, brother. FYI, DApp Radar is showing Forgotten Runiverse as the number 13 most active on-chain app. Again, this is the game from Forgotten Runes. This is kind of nuts, though. If this is, assuming this is completely accurate, there's no bots or anything, 189,000 users active weekly, assuming that's what UAW means. That's actually insane. Uniswap having about 200,000. Well, it's just a pretty solid. I mean, also Uniswap V3, almost 500,000 on that. Actually insane, and showing that the adoption is there, even potentially in your different circles. You might feel, hey, that isn't happening. Now, Adam Weitzman here, who is the guy who bought the 1-of-1 heavy metal from Yuga, the Dookie Dash Key, for like $1 million. He's out there trying to look for a legendary grail punk, and it is weird that we're continually seeing massive sale on CryptoPunks, where JPEG Master has a very good point, just throwing this out there, but instead of one grail punk, you could probably buy every other deed for Yuga Labs land. I agree, but like also we could replace that with almost any single collection, seeing 500 plus ETH sales. Imagine the damage that would do on virtually any collection out there. Now imagine the sweep on your one with 500 ETH, whatever collection's your favorite. Holy smokes. But people still going for that 1-of-1. Is that FU money? Is that trying to show off like status of some point? Remember when we used to talk about status all the time? I feel like the conversations around that completely went away. I don't know if that's because the market took a little bit of a downturn on things, but is having a PFP representing status back? Someone contact Yieldosaurus. This is sweet. Listen, bravo to the team at Parallel. This is awesome. I can imagine other teams, companies within Web3 are going to follow suit and some more. But for Parallel, which is one of the trading card games for Web3, the September stream promo. Every week we will join 3 random streamers' channels and give away an avatar in chat to your viewers. So this is a way that they're saying, hey, be out there, watch different people that are playing our game. We might be coming by a chat and you could end up winning one of the NFTs that's worth a couple hundred, potentially a couple $1,000. That is awesome. Love seeing the support out there for content creators. Hell yeah to Parallel. Punks are, again, one of the best-selling art pieces globally, and apparently there's been more sales on Punks in 2024 than the whole of 2023, and we got a couple months left to go. So it is interesting where I've kind of had the notion as well that generally within NFTs, we see grails, which this time around is seeming to be completely segmented to CryptoPunks, but then we see the floors and everything else start picking up. So very interested to see kind of, I guess, just like the rollout after we're seeing all these grails. So that means everything else. Let's see what happens. ASM, Altered State Machine. Take your vision and create land, sea, and air with our generative 3D AI. This is kind of neat where it's just a character. You see, okay, it's in kind of an open area. And then they zoom out here and it shows, all right, well, we generated an entire planet out of it. And I think that's really cool. Obviously, you can go to like ChatGPT, type in like, hey, generate me an image and whatnot, but seeing this in a completely different light where it's, say, landscapes, everything else, very, very excited to see what different AI toolings come out of that. Now, Aaron McDonald of Futureverse ASM, I have a feeling IP chains will be a meta. And if anybody doesn't know what a meta means, just like the best, the thing in League of Legends, if a champion's in the meta, that just means everybody's playing it because it's so good. So IP chains, they're going to be the best, potentially, of the time. After chatting with every studio, now seeing clear problems to solve and real excitement for our solution universal blueprint framework and how it solves real problems for owners, we are on to something big. The Root network is well placed. And of course, if you guys go back to different videos, I have a whole whack ton of videos on Root network and Futureverse, and would love for you guys to check them out, including an interview with Aaron way back when and Shara. IP Supercycle incoming. Phase 2. IP Supercycle things only. Good night. This coming from Claynosaurz, which also had a massive announcement today. If you haven't seen, they are partnering with Gameloft, and I hadn't heard of this before, but of course, my timeline does great things and gives me the lowdown. So wait, hold up, says Charlie D. Did Claynosaurz just announce a partnership with the #1 mobile gaming company in the world, Gameloft, for the release of their Clayno IP-driven game? They did. Here's how and why this is another win for Web3 IP. If you know games, maybe even if you don't, you'll know Gameloft. They were one of the true pioneers of mobile gaming industry, and today are a key player in an industry expected to grow even more rapidly in the coming years. So they have Lego, Disney, and a couple of other games. You might recognize them, you might not. You can imagine how visionary Gameloft is if you think they started betting on mobile gaming before Apple launched the iPhone. They now know how to identify future trends and when to bet big on them. So I guess back in 1999, Gameloft was founded. But that all changes now, as the industry giant recognizes Clayno's what so far has been lacking: the opportunity to create a unique, great, free-to-play RPG game which can appeal to a worldwide audience regardless of its origin. Shall we unpack this? And this is also like a really good video. I think Claynosaurz is one of the top I guess animation studios out there. I thought My Pet Hooligan's done some really cool stuff, but also a lot of the things from Claynosaurz I thought has been fantastic. It's important to understand this isn't going to be a copycat game to farm tokens until it dies and get the soft rug. Sheesh. It's not a rush game to create hype around a token. It's nothing less than making a great game first and let the rest follow. And so I guess this is what a druid's going to look like. A warrior, again, these are just kind of friendly characters that they put armor pieces on. We're talking about character leveling, armor, and equipment through game progression. In a way, the description I've heard was also being able to see your wallet come alive. But of course, we're also talking about intricate world building, environments, play modes, character environment, interactions, all highly connected to the original IP of Claynosaurz and building from there. Here's some more concept art. By now, it should be absolutely clear that this is nothing like what we've seen in most Web3 game ventures. This is poised to make some real noise out in the world with an irresistible IP that is built to draw in the masses. And I agree that like Claynosaurz off the rip feel super cool, right? Because we've always had like the different perspectives where I would make the argument that when you're looking at the big collections, right? From Bored Apes to Azuki to Doodles to, I mean, I guess even CryptoPunks, but it feels like CryptoPunks is like kind of working on the IP, but like the other stuff's doing a little bit more so in the CryptoPunks. Anyway, the point being is that we've had this big notion where, okay, if somebody likes a certain collection, usually they're like just kind of very stingent on like that one, where there's not been too many. They've been like a mass appeal. We always say like, oh yeah, RIP is the best out there, insert collection, but like, is it actually attractive to other people? Do people want to represent that as a thing? And I think like the Claynosaurz thing, it's dinosaurs, it's like cute. I do think that it can work for kind of that bigger audience. And we're continuing the trend of people talking bullish of what's coming. Pac-Man here from Blur and Blast. The next 12 months are going to be an incredible period of growth for the on-chain economy. If you're active in the space, this is the time to dig in and pay attention. Well, listen, we've been trying to do that since January. If you haven't caught up yet, click the live feed on YouTube, give an absolute ripper, and you'll see back in January, basically every single day, Monday through Friday, we've been live covering everything that's gone in Web3, the ups, the downs, the kick W's, and the wagmies. It's fantastic. Would love for you to rewatch. If you're, yeah, we just read that. Every cycle's new big winners are built during the bear. So again, we'll see what comes out of it. This is nuts. Top venture capitalists by number of deals. So Coinbase Ventures, I'd leave it like this because it's a little bit easier to see. Animoca Brands, 346. And sorry, Coinbase Ventures, 386. So Coinbase Ventures, 40 more than Animoca Brands. But when we made the argument about Animoca Brands literally investing in everything, can you name like 50 Web3 collections? Let alone 346 that they've invested in. Insane. NGC Ventures, Hashkey Capital, LD Capital, Shima Capital, Spartan Group, OKX Ventures, Binance Labs, Big Brain Holdings. It's weird because when we're reading these, like how many of them like have you actually heard of before? Some of these are obviously exchanges. A16Z Crypto actually on the bottom of this list comparatively, only 159, where again, for these top ones are all pushing 300, which is pretty insane because I thought A16Z was really a part of everything. So Cointelegraph put out this, and I was like, what the heck? What is going on? Justin Swift launched a system to simplify tokenized asset transactions, RWA, real-world assets, okay? Swift is upgrading its system to support real-time transfers of tokenized assets, linking blockchains, CBDCs, and fiat currencies for smooth global transactions. I mean, I'm crazy, but has this past week not had some of the wildest headlines you've ever seen? And don't worry, we'll get to some wild ones even more so here in a minute. But Matthew Siegel here saying Swift announces new digital asset efforts emphasizing regulated environments. Their experiments focus on interoperability between traditional finance and emerging technologies like tokenized assets and CBDCs. The only layer one Swift has ever mentioned in such communication is ETH. So again, beginning of the show, we talked about ETH getting more and more attention. Very, very interesting. But it says within there, the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation, that was the line before, Chainlink was used as an enterprise abstraction layer to securely connect the Swift network to the Ethereum Sepolia network, while Chainlink's cross-chain interoperability protocol enabled complete interoperability between the source and destination blockchains. So feels like a huge headline. Is this all fluff, or is this gonna be interesting? Now I keep bringing up crypto punks. You're probably like, all right, show we get the friggin' idea, bro. I know, I get it. But top NFT sales in the last 7 days, they're all punks first of all. But when you look on this, again, one of them going for 1.48 mil, another one 1.06, 500,000, almost 100,000 on a bunch of the ones on the bottom. But wow, what a significant uptick. Now, talking of significance, have you noticed that there's been like a huge trend in trading cards? Obviously, we had like Gary Vee do everything with VFriends and then launch the card game for that. League of Legends said in like 2025, they're having a trading card game come out. Pudgy Penguins just got $2 million, which we covered on stream the other day for their trading card game. And Topps and Disney are now partnering. Topps has expanded its deal with Disney to include global trading card rights for Disney, Pixar, and Marvel. Starting in 2025, gems like these from EMEA exclusive sets could see future iterations with US releases. So is a new hot thing not NFTs? It's actually trading cards, collectible cards of some sort? Well, damn, it might be. Grayscale, we are proud to announce the creation of a new single asset crypto investment fund, Grayscale XRP Trust, which will be available through private placement. Now, there was a spaces earlier with Bildo and Atari. Shout out guys for doing that. And Mometa hopped on for a second and kind of explained that they were having a XRP trust before, but then all those court cases and about it potentially being called a security, it was kind of kiboshed, and then now with all like the regulative clarity, that's back. And that was one of the reasons actually that if you look recently, XRP kind of had a decent bump in the prices. I don't think it was like today or anything. Oh, actually, maybe it was today. Let me go look. But it was because of this, and I thought that was super interesting. So yeah, I don't think that this was today. Ooh, hold on. Maybe it was. Sheesh. Look at that. 53 cents if we go back a month. We've had some upticks, down swings, go for a year. Listen, up, down, all around. It's like a circus over here. But XRP in the news, very, very interesting. And then I saw this guy, and he's had a lot of different takes. If you happen to watch TikTok, you might follow him. It's called Coach JV. And basically, he's saying that there's going to be like the three big players, and he was referencing how, you know, like within stocks and everything else, there's always kind of like the big three. And he was thinking that Ethereum, Bitcoin, and XRP is it. Now, I listen. If you're a Solana maxi out there, listen. I hear you, but it's very interesting just seeing these different things. Obviously, you don't know what like he's invested in, so there's potentially a little bit of bias on certain things. But it is interesting just hearing his thoughts. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP are going to be the big three. We'll see what happens. So big news, guys. Listen, not that you want to buy any NFT land. That's been a very interesting situation. But RavenQuest has gotten a ton of wildly positive reviews. Ton of players seeing this all over my timeline, and they are doing a land sale, and the supply is only out of 4,000. It's happening on the 14th of September, which is in like 2 days. So again, if you're wanting to find out more info about that, just giving you a quick little plug for that. It's at RavenQuest Game if you are wanting to look into it ahead of time. Now this is kind of cool on Bloomberg Technology. Liz Yang was on there, and look at the title, Azuki, Head of Growth. I remember when Zed Run was on the TV. That was a long time ago, but good to see that we're still having that notion and attention. Now, XCopy, we highlighted this like a couple days ago, and XCopy's pieces have just been going on an absolute run. One of the Immortal Editions, 5 out of 10, sold for $228,000, $500,000. Holy smokes. Holy smokes and holy smokes. Okay, so we've been highlighted a little bit off the rip here, but listen, Mr. Trump had a pretty wild statement here. So what did he have to say?
Join me live on Twitter Spaces at 8 p.m. this September 16th for the launch of World Liberty Financial. We're embracing the future with crypto and leaving the slow and outdated big banks behind.
Okay, so Rug Radio is apparently helping out with that, which they've been covering a lot of spaces and stuff. They do something kind of similar to what we do here, but it's obviously on X and some other places. But that's a pretty wild announcement. We've been kind of hinted at something. Obviously, there was a bunch of fake tokens that came out. We didn't know what the hell was going on with all like this conversations before. But World Liberty, they have like a Telegram for it. There's not a whole lot of info for that. Interesting that the conversation's kind of around leaving the big banks behind. I think that there is a little bit of like a fear from a lot of people. I know that like when I got into the space, I was like, well, what the hell happens if like your bank says, hey, you do something with crypto, screw you. But obviously at the beginning of the show, we went over like Canada regulation. So I'm like, okay, I don't really have that fear necessarily anymore, but it is interesting, these narratives, these conversations of things. And clearly crypto is very much a political conversation heading into this upcoming election. And I don't know. I don't really have anything else more to say to that, but it's very interesting. I would not have expected that we have presidential candidates out there being like, yo, we're vying for crypto in such a way. And final thing, we're going to leave you with Captain O'Root, Mr. Aaron McDonald saying weekly visit open lore updates from Ernest Cline are fire. The Runiverse coming for your screen time like no other project in this space. Very interested to see what's going on. And it's funny because I do have a video where they kind of originally were hinting at their partnership between like Futureverse, Ready Player One. We gave all the details back then, and I'm noticing for Root Network, for Futureverse, I'm starting to get more hits on things. I can't say that in the past I've gotten like a lot of uptick, except for when they originally announced the Ready Player One announcement. It's been pretty flatline, but every single day, listen, we're getting like 10 to 20 views on a whole bunch of the videos around there. I'm like, this is getting traction. I'm not doing anything different. What in the halibut is going on? But that's it for this edition of XFeed. I hope to hell that you guys enjoy that. If you do enjoy these daily streams, would love if you could subscribe on Twitch if you happen to have Amazon Prime, and on YouTube we do have kind of a membership club that's like $2.99 a month. You want to buy me a coffee, enjoy it, fantastic, appreciate it. But that's going to be it for today, and I will see you tomorrow.